Most of it had to do with, I think, what were the headlines in the New York Times when I was growing up. I was born in 1965, and I don't know exactly when I started reading the newspaper, but thinking back on that period, so many of the large public issues of the day seemed to have some component that was scientific or technological on the one hand, and another component that was explicitly political or social on the other hand. If you think about the fate of the space program after Apollo, if you think about not the early beginnings of the environmental movement, but its rapid takeoff after the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency. If you think about the beginnings of recombinant DNA and its early commercialization, that these were all issues that were, when they happened, above the fold, and on the one hand implicated the knowledge and technologies that we were creating, on the other hand implicated some really deep issues about the nature of politics and society more broadly. I would suggest that there's not a rightful place of science, but again, maybe think about decomposing that query into a variety of different things. What concepts do we have about rights that pertain to science and the way people interact with it? What concept of place do we have? That's another thing that I think will be somewhat on display here. There's not just a U.S. or a Western perspective on science, but science is placed in many places across the globe. And what is it that we are really talking about when we're talking about science? Are we talking about the empirical activity that happens in laboratories? Are we talking about the modeling activity that happens in circuits? Are we talking about the observational activity that happens when school children put out weather monitoring instrumentation that then feeds into government programs in climate change? And it's plausible that all those things constitute science. It's plausible that a number of other things that happen outside of, in different places then, constitute science. And each of these things come with a different set of rights, a different set of responsibilities. And that's, again, going to the question mark, there may be no singular aspect of this, but a set of diversities that we really have to accommodate. There are a number of reasons. One is because CISPO has now reached a stage in its development after 10 years as an organization in existence, after 5 years here at Arizona State University, where I think we're ready to take a sort of larger role in the national stage in promoting the way that we think about science and technology and their social context in a productive way. And so this conference is in part about demonstrating that belief. The conference has many parts that suggest the multiple origins of the conference, and so the part that has to do with CISPO's productive role on a more national stage is a set of people that we call exemplars that we've invited to partake in the conference, and whose work as scientists or in and around the scientific enterprise we want to highlight as that kind of work that we think should be more widespread in the enterprise. I think we're going to know if we hit the mark first by the immediate feedback we get from people, by the level of excitement that we feel in the room. I mean, to a certain extent, we've hit the mark already, because that level of excitement that we hope to see generated, we're seeing in the people that we've invited, in the kinds of people who have, on their own accord, decided to, in this terrible economic time, to fork out their own money or that of their cheap institutions and come to this meeting. But I think the idea will be to look for the ways in which people engage in the context of the conference.